Such was Sydney in the 60s, when the young Philip Mills began making his way to Doris Fish. "I've been in and out of dresses since as long as I can remember," he told me in 1986. He discovered the allure of Mildred's closet early on. "I remember being chastened for it, but not heavily. My mother and father did suspect that something was different." He first put on a frock professionally, so to speak, when he was about 12. At the end of every school year, one of the priests at the all-boys St. Augustine's would hire a theater, put half the boys in drag, and mount a big Broadway-style extravaganza, complete with strutting showgirls, can-can numbers, and kick lines. The begowned boys would sing in their own voices, which hadn't changed yet. In those years, when gender frontiers were comfortingly fixed, the families loved it. The first production that Philip was cast in featured selections from Annie Get Your Gun and other Wild West-themed songs, performed on a set that was supposed to represent a saloon in the Black Hills of Dakota. Philip would become an adept set builder before he graduated. Even though he was only a chorus girl, he told me he had the highest kick in the kick line and a really nice big dress. He and Peter McMahon, who were still best friends, took it perhaps a little more seriously than some of the other boys did. I wouldn't say that we were the most beautiful, but we were the most dedicated. 2 or 3 years later, Peter discovered the drag bars, and soon he introduced Philip to the excitement of slumming. "It was fascinating," Doris continued. "That was 67, 68, so he would have been 15 or 16, and the things people were wearing were just fantastic. Oh, the fashions. Everybody used to dress to the tits. Even now there are still zillions and zillions of drag queens there. But then it was thicker, and they were more fantastic. Hairdos that were 3 or 4 feet tall, jeweled. And this was just daytime wear. There were drag queens in Sydney who were like covers of Vogue magazine times 10. Drag queens usually are much more than just women. They're aggressively glamorous." It wasn't long before the boys were dabbling in drag themselves. But although they weren't conscious of it at first, there was a generational divide between them and the older queens. Presumably, in the pre-liberation era, it took a compelling need for a man to risk an activity as aberrant and illegal as parading around in women's clothes. For Philip and Peter, it was a hoot. Getting arrested for the crime of drag must have struck them as a ridiculous idea. Anyway, they were part of a generation for whom getting arrested, whether for smoking pot or for protesting the Vietnam War, was becoming a badge of honor, and so they could pick and choose what they liked, baggage-free from this strange adult world of cross-dressers. Ultimately, they and their contemporaries would transform it. By the time Philip came out to his family at around 18, they were, as I said, hardly floored. For years they had watched him advising his older sisters on fashion and makeup, and his mother on decor. Ace and Mildred, whose own ideas had broadened by the late 60s, were extremely tolerant. Over the coming years, they were going to have a lot to tolerate. But Philip did more than merely inform them. As Jacqueline Hyde explained to me, Doris felt she had to educate her family and get them involved. It was a truth, homosexuality. People had to be made aware of this thing and accept it.